From the Jennings Communication Building on the campus of Dixie State University, this is Trailblazer Weekly, starring Carrick Segmiller and Drayson Ball.
Welcome inside Studio A in the Jennings Communication Building on the campus of Dixie State University. It is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It is time for another edition of Trailblazer Weekly. Season 3, Episode 2, ready to rock and roll. I'm Carrick Segmiller. He is Drayson Ball, and I've got to say, I have been excited about this episode all summer long. We knew we had to do some different things with the show this year with not having any games in the fall. So we've done those different things. We've got our first episode of those kind of restructured shows ready to rock and roll for you today, and I am excited.
We're so excited to show you guys what we've been able to do for this show over the last couple of days. We were able to film with some of the stars of the football team, senior quarterback Keaton Mott and senior kicker James Baird. They were tremendous. We had a lot of fun with them. Their interviews are great. And then you and I, Carrick, we did a little on-field battle, a little kicking contest, a little passing contest. Won't want to miss how that turns out. It is a really, really fun experience. It's a really fun video. So we're excited to share that with you, and it's going to be a great show today.
Speak for yourself, Drayson. I do need to issue a disclaimer. I know all of our Trailblazer Weekly audience has become accustomed to seeing me, Carrick, that's K-E-R-I-C, win almost every single challenge we have or trivia game or anything on the show.
What?
And I do need to give you just a tiny bit of a spoiler alert that may not happen today.
Whoa,
it may
whoa,
come
whoa,
as a shock
whoa,
to our audience out there, but I just need to warn you.
Those longtime listeners and viewers know that you're not spitting the truth right now.
Mostly true.
That the Know Your Foe games that we've done have been even at worst, and I think it will play out in the cards later today.
Let's just say that the challenges that we do during these videos, these pre-taped segments that you're gonna see in the middle of our show today, the score's gonna carry over all throughout the fall semester. So let's just leave it at that, and you'll get to see what happens here in just a little bit. It's time now for our Blazer Beat, where we look around campus and let you know what's going on inside Dixie State athletics. A couple of different things to tell you about. Obviously, no games, no scores to go over, but some very important things that we can catch you up on. And no show over the last 2 weeks, and so a couple of things to catch you up on here. The first that we want to let you know about is the Western Athletic Conference, the WAC, announcing its implementation of its voter awareness program. Just weeks away from the presidential election, and the WAC, along with lots of other conferences and institutions across the country, are doing their part with this initiative to make sure that all their student athletes, coaches, staff, fans are registered to vote and are taking part in that upcoming election. Very, very important. I mean, it doesn't matter which side you're voting for, but that's how you get your voice heard. That's how you make changes in this country. Get out. Get registered to vote. Wanted to let you know of that. For more information, head over to DixieStateAthletics.com. Secondly, and this is one of those things that happened right after our last show on September 2nd, we talked a little bit about it with Coach Peterson about the life-saving efforts that this Dixie State football team has been a part of. They were presented at an early morning practice team workout on September 4th with the Life-Saving Medal Award. The Dixie State Campus Police were there. The director, the chief of Dixie State Campus Police, Blair Barfus, was there to present Dixie State football and its players with a beautiful plaque and a beautiful life-saving medal award for their efforts in literally saving lives. And another shout-out to the Dixie State football program for that. Lastly, if you are a Dixie State student and you're a baseball player, get out your glove, get your batting gloves out. Dixie State Trailblazer Baseball announcing just today they'll be hosting open tryouts sometime in October. No date set yet, but that is coming. Stay tuned to DixieStateAthletics.com for the full information on that. Also remember, follow us on Twitter at DSU Blazer Weekly. That is our Blazer Beat.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff there. I love what the Wacky's doing with the voting initiative. If you go on their Instagram, almost every day they have something on their story or whether a post or whatever, encouraging students and student athletes to get registered to vote. And I think that's extremely important, certainly at this time. And also, a lot of other good stuff there. The life-saving award from the football team, that's a big deal. And then, of course, the open tryouts for baseball. Very interesting. We haven't really seen anything like that. I certainly never have seen really anything like that, at least on campus in my short time here. So, going to be interesting to see what that merits.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we've said before, we're going to try to have the show be as normal as possible still. There's no games to talk about, but there still are things going on that we need to let the fans and the viewers know about. Let's jump into our next segment, kind of the bulk of our opening segment, question of the day. And this is a very pertinent one. The NCAA is meeting today, hoping to be able to come up with some information about basketball and a start date. And that brings us to today's question of the day. What is the best case scenario for basketball? There's a couple different dates being discussed, and we'll get to those in just a minute in terms of the earliest start date right now, what is on the table right now. But what is the best case scenario for basketball? There's been a lot of stuff, rumors floating, and for the longest time, the focus was solely on the fall. What's happening with those fall sports? Now, the main priority right now is making sure that basketball can start as close to on time as possible to try to get some non-conference games in, play a full conference schedule in, and that the NCAA needs March Madness this year. They can't go 2 years without it. They've got to figure out a way to make that happen. So the question of the day today, what is the best case scenario for the Dixie State basketball team?
Yeah, I think there's certainly a lot of possibilities out there. And look, here's what we know right now. The season was supposed to start on November 10th, right? That's when the schedule was supposed to start for Dixie State in their non-conference games and their preseason games, those kind of things. That's probably not going to happen. There's been no official announcement, but we kind of know that's probably not going to happen. It's not going to start on November 10th. So here's what also you need to know. You have to have at least 6 weeks of practice. You have to have 6 weeks, basically 42 days of practice time before your scheduled first game of the season. So that's 6 weeks before you have to actually play, that you have time to prepare. So in my opinion, the best case scenario for me, obviously you have to have your conference schedule. You probably have to have your conference tournament at the end of the season, and then you obviously have to have the NCAA tournament, the March Madness, at the end of the year. Obviously with this time you may have to sacrifice a few things. You may not be able to get a full, 33 games, 32 game schedule in. You might have to sacrifice a few non-conference games in order to get that full conference slate in the season. So in my opinion, I think the best case scenario would be for the basketball team to start on January 12th. Obviously that's kind of a long ways away. We hope that they start before that, but we don't know at this point. I certainly don't foresee a whole lot of things changing within the next 4 to 6 weeks that would be requisite for them to start any earlier than, say, January 12th. But let's just say this. Let's say they start on January 12th. That means that they would report to basically, practices on December 1st. If you go any earlier than January 12th, then you're flirting with kind of Thanksgiving and that kind of area where there's either moratoriums or going to be hard for students to be on campus and all that kind of stuff. So you push it back to January 12th. You can start practicing on December 1st. If we look, let's kind of compare. I know this is maybe a kind of a stretch comparison, but let's look at some of the powerhouses in Division I and kind of how their conference schedule plays out. If you look at Duke and you look at Kentucky, Duke didn't start the meat of their conference schedule until December 31st last year. Kentucky didn't start their conference schedule until January 4th. So they obviously had a lot of non-conference games and tournament games and things that don't really count towards your conference schedule, before January 4th and December 31st. So there's a possibility that you could kind of push that back one more week and start immediately with conference, maybe have 1 or 2 non-conference games leading up to that January 12th or maybe just shortly thereafter. And then you can really get into the conference schedule, play a full conference schedule, 18 games, 20 games, 22 games maybe, and then you can go into a conference tournament and then the NCAA tournament. That, to me, I think would be one of the better case scenarios. Obviously, we hope they play a little bit sooner than that, but it's hard to tell in these days.
Yeah, that's certainly, let's call that maybe the safe bet scenario, right? To where you get past the new year, you could play your conference schedule, maybe like I said, play one non-conference game, a little tune-up game. I can tell you what I think coaches and staffs are pushing for. The date that was originally floated around was November 25th. I mean, as early as just in a couple of months. And now starting to hear the date of November 21st, because hopefully by the end of the day today, we'll know more what the NCAA is thinking. And I think the logic with the November 21st, if you can start on that day as your first possible day of competition, what's the next week? It is Thanksgiving. And there are moratoriums, but if you think about it, not usually during Thanksgiving. They might not really ever practice right on Thanksgiving, but there have in the past have been all sorts of Thanksgiving weekend basketball tournaments, even Dixie State at Division II. So if you start on the 21st as that first possible start date, that gives you an opportunity, especially for some of these bigger Division I programs, to go play in these big Thanksgiving weekend tournaments. So best case scenario for me, man, let's start as close to on time as possible. And if that's November 21st, then let's go. If that's sometime in December, fine. If you can only get a conference schedule in for one reason or the other, then that's better than nothing, right? But let's go, and I think that's what most coaches will tell you right now. We want to start on the 21st or the 25th, or as early as they will let us start, so we can play some non-conference games and then be ready for conference play. Dixie State wasn't originally started to schedule conference play till after the new year anyway. I think the date was January 2nd against UVU. I think at least for the women's team. Not sure what the men's team conference schedule looks like there because of the mirror scheduling. But who knows if that will be the conference start date still. But when I look at it, let's start as early as possible.
Yeah, no, I certainly hope that that's the case. I mean, I'm all for playing basketball as soon as possible. I just know that in this day and age, nothing's certain, and I think let's try to go for the safest bet. Just quickly, a minute left before we go. Let's talk about some Rock Canyon Bank by the numbers characters. There's been the idea floated around that for this season, it's a little bit weird. Let's invite every Division I college basketball program to March Madness, the NCAA tournament. There's been talks about that. Not sure that it's going to happen, but let's just hypothesize here for a second.
You get a trophy.
Exactly. So currently, as it is, there's 64 teams, 68 teams that make it into the tournament. Let's say they did as many as they could. There's 347 Division I college programs. You can't have every single one. You got to have it be in that multiple of 2, 4, 6, 8, or 2, 4, 8, 16, 3, 2, 6, 4. So let's say they invited 256 teams. That's the most you could have in that bracket format without having it be weird brackets here and there, all kinds of stuff. So 256 teams, Carrick. Do you know the record for teams of a 16 seed beating a 1 seed in the history of the NCAA tournament? Well, you don't have to know because I've done the research for you, Carrick. They are 1 and 139. So it's really, really hard for a 16 seed to beat a 1 seed. If in a 256-team tournament, you'd have to have a 1 versus a 64 seed, and I just don't see a 64 seed ever winning that. It wouldn't make for a better tournament. It would only saturate and dilute the product that is.
What about the reclassifiers, like Dixie State, moving from Division II to Division I? They get in?
That's interesting. Do they get in? I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting, but those are the numbers, so I don't see that happening.
All right, Rock Canyon Bank by the numbers, and that is our first segment. We got to take a break because we got to get out on time. We've got a lot to get to today and a lot of fun stuff coming up with senior quarterback Keaton Mott, and then later with senior kicker James Baird. Take a timeout. Be right back with Keaton on Trailblazer Weekly.
Radio Dixie 91.3. We don't play that. Nope, not that. A big fat no there. That's what we play. And stuff like that. On St. George's only alternative, Radio Dixie 91.3. Oh, and from 9 till midnight, we play this. I need a one dance. And this. Radio Dixie 91.3 FM.
you today?
Good.
I'm here to talk about how with technology you can make amazing worlds. Come with me. My team and I bring the Halo world to life.
Is that you?
That is me. I wasn't a math genius and I knew nothing about coding. But you guys do. You guys have the power to change things.
I want your job.
I want you to have my job.
There is a place where rocks bleed and nature blushes on a battlefield green with envy, where dimples determine destiny and a tiny wooden T holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where friends are opponents and opponents are friends, where the prize is elusive, the conquest is captivating, and the score isn't settled till the drinks are down. There is a place.
Radio Dixie 91.3, Young the Giant, something to believe in.
John, what song do you want to hear?
Next, Miss Calendris. You'll be on the SWAT team, the best SWAT team. Just a fantastic situation.
I should talk to you. I was going to talk to you last time.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear. Because for 75 years, he's only said,
only you can prevent wildfires.
But there's a lot more to say. Like, if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Today's show is brought to you by the Dixie State Campus Store, the official source for DSU Trailblazer clothing, providing students with textbooks, as well as educational, office, and art supplies. Located on the second floor of the Gardner Center, the Dixie State Campus Store, proud sponsor of Trailblazer Weekly.
Our first student athlete that we are highlighting today is senior quarterback Keaton Mott. And Drayson and I getting ready to do a little throwing challenge. But first, we need a quick tutorial. And also, please note, we got the mask. We're socially distanced here from Keaton. We need the throwing tutorial. Treat us like we've never thrown a football before, Keaton.
Let's run it.
And let's run it.
Yeah,
Let's
this is youth football days right here. No.
And we've got to be able to hit these three goalposts, the upright and the crossbar. What do we got to do to be able to do that?
I can teach you how to throw. I can't teach you accuracy. I don't know if I can do all that. But no, we'll just go from the beginning how I taught. So just laces on the ball. I always go 2 fingers on the laces, something similar like this. And a good coaching point that we all do, just ball in the pocket right here, keep it in, and then just crack the egg and a small wheel. Keep a small wheel. You never want to drop the ball low, right? Obviously, you're playing football. You can get that someone could knock it out easily. So just crack the egg, small wheel, come over the top, and then finish with your thumb down. And that's about it right there, boys. I don't know if that's good enough, but. Me coming here was quite simple, like me playing in the Big Sky. I knew Coach Collins, and obviously wasn't going to sign off for me to play in the Big Sky. I knew that was out of the ordinary, and so moving up, I knew Peterson was here, and he was a Bingham guy too, so I knew a lot of the same guys that he did, same networking, and so I pretty much just called Coach P and was like, hey, I'm coming, just kind of find me a scholarship and I'll be there in a couple weeks. And it wasn't like he had to recruit me. It was just more like I knew I wanted to be here. I had a lot of family that went to Dixie, and I knew they were making the jump to D1, and that was the more enticing thing for me than anything, to continue to keep playing D1.
Here's what we're doing. Drayson and I trying to hit the left upright, the right upright, and the crossbar. Whoever completes that challenge in the least amount of throws is the winner of this segment of the challenge. Let's get to it. Bring it on, Drayson.
Left. No, it was something when I graduated a semester early from high school as well. And so I knew going into college I was kind of keep the same path. And it wasn't that big of a deal because out there we had to take summer classes anyway. So we were taking 6 to 9 credits in the summer. So we were taking away pretty much a whole semester. And so a lot of the dudes out there, and I feel like a lot of athletes in D1 anyways nowadays, especially football, are graduating a year early just because it's such an easy transition. And so I graduated with my degree with comm and a minor in accounting, and then switched over and doing coding and programming here. My whole thing was coming in here is like kind of just setting the payway, because I was at a D1 school for a long time and I kind of knew what it takes to play at that level, especially with all the Big Sky teams that we were playing, what it takes in the film room, what it takes in the weight room, and just kind of that work ethic moving forward, because it's a completely different world from D2 to D1. And I think the biggest thing for me when I jumped down to D2, it wasn't the physical standpoint from everything. Like, yeah, there's a lot of dudes that you play that you're like, yeah, I could never make it in D1, but like there's more the mental side of things, like really learning the game of football, really studying defenses, really studying fronts. And so I just kind of want to be the best example as I possibly could, continuing to do that right now as we make the transition of whenever, if we play this year. And so that was kind of my biggest thing, kind of talking to Coach P in the offseason coming down here. That was a big thing for him as well. Oh. But no, man, us not playing right now, I think it's just more important to do the little things as far as, I can't stretch it enough, and we talk about this all the time, especially with Coach Bills being at Weber and playing in the Big Sky for a while. He's a great LC. It's just film, because it's way different. Like in D2, you can go out there, play, you're going to get cover 1 and cover 4. That's all you're going to get, right? D1, it's a little bit different. You're going to have so many different variations of fronts, linebackers, linemen, safeties, spin in different ways. So I think the main thing for us is, yeah, it's good for us. It's kind of a blessing in disguise in a way for us to be physically ready, right? We can get in the weight room for a whole nother off season, get bigger, better, faster, stronger. And then the mental side of things right now for us, it's also a blessing in disguise because we get to watch film on all these dudes that we thought we were going to play, we might still play. And so I think that's what we're kind of stressing right now more than anything. Oh, got it. Oh. Oh. Well, the unknown there for a while was a little different, right? Like you're sitting there like, are we going to play or if we're not going to play? And so just trying to keep that, like, whether you want to call it mental fortitude or whatever it is, just to keep going, keep grinding, see what happens, play it out. There's just the unknown. Like we didn't know what was going on, right? We would reach out to the coaches and they didn't know as much as we knew either, right? So we're just all reading the same things online or Twitter or social media or whatever it was. And so it was frustrating, man, really like sitting through that whole process and continuing to sit through that whole process. Like we're still out here practicing every day, like it's game week, and for us to be preparing kind of for ourselves, it's a little bit different transition, especially during this fall period, right? Like we'd be in week 2 right now or week 3. And so it was frustrating. It's still kind of frustrating, but it's the cards that everyone's dealt. It's not just us. There's a lot of teams around the country that are dealing with the same thing. So we're just kind of just do what we got to do, put our foot in the ground, just keep moving. Oh! Oh, my word. Oh! Being we didn't have a punter there, so I punted there as well, but I haven't punted in 4 or 5 years now. And so, but I came here and then I can't remember what our whole punter situation was, but P came to me and was like, hey bro, like you need to go do something. And I was like, all right. So we just started punting and then went into week 1 and just continued throughout the week. And then I remember someone bringing it to my attention about the whole RMAC thing and then like leading like 6th in the country or something like that. I'm like, there must not be a lot of good punters in D2. Like, I don't know what's going on here, guys. But no, it was fun, man. Just doing whatever you can do for the team. And it's something that I shanked a lot, just like I hit some good ones too. But it was fun being able to go back. And obviously I'd rather get a first down and keep scoring, but it's cool to be able to do that too. On it! Oh! That's it, bro. For the dramatic. Jeez Louise. Coaching staff we have here, I say it all the time. I'm more and more impressed the more I'm in this program, being around Coach P and now Coach Bills and Loney and Coach Smith and all our coaches. It's impressive that we have the staff that we do here. They're pretty big up and coming guys. And that's what really attracted me to this place. I've come to really love Coach P. Like when I first came here, we got pretty similar personalities, so we butted heads there for a minute in our first couple weeks, just be straightforward and honest. And so it took us about halfway through the season for us to like kind of look at each other and be like, hey, we're in this thing together, like let's ride it out, love each other and do it. And now I'll go to Coach P for anything now, but it's amazing, just not only him, but for us to have all of our coaches. Like a lot of our coaches have played in the NFL, played at big time Division I schools and have great experiences. So be able to learn from them and take what they did, what they didn't do, and kind of incorporated it to us moving up to D1. I think it's like a huge part. And I think now in the society that we live in, especially like with the athletes coming up, I think it's so important to be more of a player's coach more than anything nowadays. And I think we have a lot of players coaches that will look in your face and say things you don't want to hear, but also like take you back and say, hey, I love you, bud, and this is the reason of doing it. And so I think that's what makes our coaching staff so special right now. And I think, man, I really wish that people can kind of get around our coaching staff and see how impressive they really are for us to be at where we're at here at Dixie State and to have them right now in their career. So I love all of them, and it's a blessing to be able to play with all of them right now.
Man, what a time down at Greater Zion Stadium with senior quarterback Keaton Mott. And again, I warned you before this started not to be disappointed if I didn't come out on top in some of these competitions. Hitting those uprights proved to be much, much more difficult than we had anticipated. And I know almost doesn't count except in just a very few things in this live. If we were playing horseshoes and I was close on some of those tosses, I would have got some points out of it. Not in the football toss. Still disappointed, but what a great time it was with Keaton to get to hear his story and his journey coming to Dixie State, what he's learned, and how kind of this COVID pandemic has helped shape his mental fortitude, his attitude, and what the players and the team are doing to stay focused and to be ready if and when they're called upon to play in the spring.
Yeah, it was so much fun to spend some time with Keaton and to, like you said, learn his story and how he kind of was able to come here to Dixie State. I really liked one thing he said that I really liked is when he first came here last season, he and Coach Paul Pearson kind of butted heads a little bit. And that was really telling for me that ultimately he said that about halfway through the season that they kind of, realized, hey, we're on the same team here. We got the same goals. Let's not butt our heads together and let's try to work together and get along. And I think that shows a lot of maturity, and that's what you get out of a senior quarterback like Keaton Mott. And we saw him strive on many occasions last year on the football field, and I'm excited to see. Hopefully, we get back on the field sometime soon. I'm excited to see what he can bring this team. It goes to show that Dixie State and this football program, and we've talked about this a little bit, last show, that they got a lot of good players. They got even better individuals, and so I think that's the most important thing. And we were able to witness that firsthand with Keaton Mott, and what a great kid and what a great story.
Well, can I tell you, too, that my favorite play, there was just a little B-roll clip of his highlights from last year, and he made many, many highlights. But one of my favorite clips that we saw in that reel was against Colorado Mesa, and Trailblazers were down 21-7. They're trying to drive, trying to cut it back, trying to fight back into that game in the second half. And there's the running play that you saw where he broke one tackle, lowered the shoulder, broke a tackle, and then another safety came up, tried to wrap him up, and he said, no. It's just simple as that. No, stiff arm, threw the safety on his back and gained about another 10 yards before he was gang tackled at about midfield. And I thought that perfectly described the character and the passion and the mental toughness and the physical toughness of a player like Keaton Mott. He had his challenges. He had his ups and his downs and his share of injuries last year, fighting through a two-quarterback system, not getting as many snaps as you want, because you guarantee that, you follow your coach, you do what you're asked to do, but deep down, every collegiate quarterback wants to be playing every snap. And so there were some ups and some downs, like you said, even butted heads with Coach Peterson a little bit, but I felt like that play perfectly described Keaton Mott as a football player, as a person. Get out of my way. No challenge is going to stop me. Very informative, fun time down at the stadium with Keaton Mott.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, he didn't have the easiest season. I mean, it's not, go ask any Division I quarterback in the country and ask, hey, are you willing to share your spotlight as the quarterback of this program? And a lot of them would say absolutely not. And I think it was a huge sign of maturity from Keaton to be able to say, let's make it work. I want to play for this team and I want to win. Let's make this 2-quarterback system work. He had to fight through injuries for a lot of the season, and then towards the end of the year, I mean, he was getting on the field, and he may not have been 100% healthy, and that shows a lot of grit and determination to do whatever it takes to try to help this team win, and that shows a lot to me. And just a really good guy, really good individual, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for him.
You know, you didn't see it in the clip that we showed you, but we did ask him too, hey, you ever thought about coaching? And he immediately said no. And I said, well, you think you can coach us up on throwing these footballs? And then what you did hear in the clip was, hey, I can teach you how to throw, but I can't teach you accuracy. And you saw that, you know, I think you and I, we're both fairly athletic, you know, at least, you know, in our Uncle Rico type of minds. We felt like we were going to be able to pull this off. It took me 15 throws. You walked it off with your 14th throw. A fun challenge there. We're going to have to, we won't spoil the total ending, but we'll see who wins the overall football challenge in the next segment with James Baird. So,
going to be fun.
Going to be absolutely a great time, a grand time. We got to take a break. When we come back to Greater Zion Stadium, joined this time by senior kicker James Baird. Back after this timeout on the show.
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere. And just growing up the way I grew up, and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
Let's go. Take the ball out there.
There is a place where young and old make connections, where kids feel like grown-ups, and grown-ups feel like kids. There is a place where beauty arises in contrast, where wonder is universal, and laughter second nature. There is a place where friends find a future, families find each other, and feelings find their home. There is a place.
Radio Dixie 91.3. We don't play that. Nope, not that. A big fat no there. That's what we play. And stuff like that. On St. George's only alternative, Radio Dixie 91.3. Oh, and from 9 till midnight, we play this. I need a one dance. And this. Radio Dixie 91.3 FM.
Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not as they seem.
Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts though stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating, funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb-driven cattle, be a hero in the strife.
Lives of great men all remind us that our lives can be sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing over life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing, shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate. Still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait.
I take the road less traveled, run free, unwind, unravel someplace outside with lots lots to do. Green trees, red rocks, and don't forget that blue sky. The sunshine shining, sunshine pouring on me. Think I might just stay a while. Say hooray all day because the sun is gonna shine on me. Sun is gonna shine on me. Sun's gonna shine on me.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But I get it, you're busy, and busy people can't have prediabetes. I read that wrong. They can, okay? Just go to the site.
Welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly, on location here at Greater Zion Stadium, and the second of our challenges upcoming, and senior kicker James Baird joining us on the show. James, thanks so much for stopping by today. And here's what's going to happen. Drayson and I are going to compete in a 5-kick PAT challenge. Whoever makes the most out of those 5 kicks wins this portion of the challenge. But I really don't know how to kick a football correctly. So we've got just a couple minutes here with James, the senior kicker for this Trailblazer football team, and he's going to coach us up.
All right, so the first thing, you already messed up on this. Don't kick it with your toe.
Don't kick with your toe.
Don't kick with your toe.
You want to try and hit this big bone on the inside of your foot, kind of where your laces start. Because right there is like, it's not out on the toe. If you hit it out on the toe, or if you hit it up here, you're going to lose power. But if you hit it kind of here in the middle, then we just kind of refer to that as the sweet spot of your foot.
Okay.
So you want to try and hit it there. The next thing, if you look on this ball, I'll show you the ball. We want to try and hit probably right down here below the logo, but not too far low. Okay, that's going to give you the most power. So if you can hit it here on your foot, hit it a little bit, kind of a quarter of the way down, a quarter of the way up the ball, should get a pretty good, nice end over end kick.
All right. Now, what about, take us through quickly the setup.
Okay.
I mean, how many steps back? How many steps? We're both right-footed, right, Drayson?
Right. Yep.
How many steps back? How many steps to our left do we need? What's your setup? I mean, what do we need to know about the setup here?
So I actually take kind of weird steps. I take the same number as everyone else, but I do them a little bit differently. So most kickers take 3 steps back, right? So they get to here, kind of line themselves up, and then they take their 2 steps to the side. The thing is that for some reason, maybe it's because I'm really short, but that angle doesn't really work well for me. So I almost take 2.5 steps back and then 2 really big steps to the side. That's just kind of what works for me, just being a little bit smaller. Each person kind of finds their own thing. A couple guys in the NFL yesterday took 3 steps to the left. So kind of varies for everyone, but good rule of thumb is about 3 back and 2 over to the side.
Okay.
And you want to just try a little bit wider than shoulder distance, and you should have a pretty good angle at the ball.
Okay. We know how to kick the ball. We know how to set up. Now, all that's left to do is the PAT challenge. Let's have Drayson go first this time. Since I went first in the throwing challenge, he's going to set the bar, and then I'm going to see if I can do what he did in the first challenge and win this thing. So here we go, PAT challenge.
Let's
coming
do
at
it.
you.
All growing up, I wanted to go to BYU and play at BYU. After I graduated high school, I served a 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Honduras. And I got home, and I was all excited to go to BYU, and I was like, perfect, get to play for Bronco Mendenhall. And then I am on the computer one day, and I see Bronco Mendenhall signs coach of Virginia. And I was heartbroken, to be honest. It was kind of one of those like surreal feelings, like, oh my goodness, I had worked all this time to go to this school to play for this coach, and now he's gone. But I decided I was gonna go there anyway. Got to the point where we had the tryout, went pretty good. They took me on the team, and things were going really great. I worked my way all the way up to being the starting kicker. Then we ended spring football, had the summer, got a lot stronger because of like off-season programs and stuff, and I had a week or 2 of practice where I didn't do as well, started getting reps taken away, and then got a call from the coach 3 days before the season started. He said, "Hey, clear your locker out. You're out the team." And that was definitely one of the hardest things that I've had to go through as a football player.
Kick number 1.
Oh! There we go. Hey, there's one. Get up. Get up. Ah. Ah. Get in. Yes,
got it.
Oh, let's go. After I got cut, I was just practicing on my own, and one day, I don't know exactly what happened. I was out kicking and kicked my last kick, felt a pop in my leg, ended up tearing my quad. So I had to sit out of football for a whole year. Just quit football, couldn't do anything for a year. Year goes by and I get a call from some random number, and he said, "Hey, I'm coaching kickers at Snow College." And I was thinking, what is that? Like, is that a school I should know of? Like, what is that? So I went there. That's where I met Coach Peterson. He always made fun of my haircut a little bit because of my military background, and always called me Top Gun Baird because he loved that movie. So that was a good first moment with him. Met him there and ended up following him here. After having a pretty good season there, he got the coaching job here, and I thought, hey, you know what? It's perfect. It must be in the cards, so let's do it. Oh. No! I don't know what you were doing on that one. I don't know if I ever really wanted to be the kicker. Growing up, I hated kickers, made fun of them all the time because they were the ones that were flopping on the ground and faking getting hit, getting the penalties and stuff. I loved playing slot receiver. Little small guy. I actually was fast back then, even though you wouldn't know it now. And just started getting concussions. And I got to the point where I had about 4 or 5 by the end of my freshman season of football. And the neurologist said, "Hey, dude, you're done. You can't play football anymore. If you get hit in the head one more time, you're gonna be like a vegetable, probably." Halfway through my sophomore year of high school, it was about the 5th game of the season, they cleared me. They said, "Hey, you can kick now." I was just gonna try and punt. I just wanted to be on the field. And my coach said, "Hey, we need you to go over there, try and kick the ball between the yellow poles." And I said, "Okay, I'll try it. I've never done that before." And I go over by the end of the practice, starting varsity, and I guess it was just match made in heaven. It was crazy.
Okay, this is worth 2. We're scooting back 5 yards.
That was your worst one, unfortunately. I'm just grateful to be able to have worked my way back to this moment. I think a lot of times things don't go well, and it's really easy to give up and just stop trying and quit. And I'm just really glad for the people around me that have supported me, our different coaches. Our punter yells at me all the time when I don't keep my head up after a missed kick or something. And little things like that have helped me get to this point kind of make it all worth it. I think a lot of times people say, prove the doubters wrong. And I've tried to live by proving the believers right. And I know that for my family, this is a really big moment, just because they've been with me through all of the ups and downs through the whole journey. And it's almost like together we accomplish this goal. It's not just me. There's a lot of people that have been with me and supported me along the way.
Sorry, I had to take a moment of silence there after seeing and watching back the kicking challenge. I am disgraced. I feel like I should maybe just pull my IFB out of my ear, move the microphone away from me, and get up and walk away, because that was a very, very sorry display of kicking on my part. I mean, I missed every single kick. I'm ashamed. I thought I'd be able. I thought I had that one in the bag.
What you should do is you should put your mic, your IFB even deeper, and get that mic closer to your face so you can keep your day job. That's what you definitely should do, because if you walk away from this, you definitely don't have a future as a place kicker at the collegiate level. So stick with your day job. And what can I say, Carrick? I mean, it takes a lot of guts to talk a little trash at the opening of the show and then not be able to back it up, obviously, in retrospect, because we pre-taped these. But it takes a big man to be able to do that and then not be able to deliver. So I'm up 2-0, and we got a lot of these to go in the future. So what can I expect? I mean,
well, you do need to remember, I didn't talk any trash. I was just spelling out the facts. At this point, like the viewers are used to seeing me win, so I'm sure they're shocked right now. But what a great time. Just like with Keaton Mott, we had a fantastic time with James Baird, and he even shared some things that he said, I don't share these things with very many people. He opened up. He was real. I mean, that's why I love these two interviews, because Keaton Mott was, energetic, and you could feel, his excitement for it. James opened up, and he was real, and about how tough of a journey it's been as a football player, and then wanting to play at BYU, being there, leaving the spring as the number one kicker on the depth chart, and then having some ups and downs, and the next thing you know, you get the phone call saying, clean out your locker, you're off the team. And then he goes and excels at Snow College, and then you know the rest. I mean, he sets records at Dixie State last year, and you know what? I'm glad BYU had him clean his locker out, because we need him here at Dixie State. What a fantastic person. What a fantastic journey. We learned so much about James Baird, the person. We already knew how good he was on the field. We learned so much about James Baird, the person, in that interview.
Yeah, an excellent human being, and what a tremendous story. Like you said, and that doesn't even cover. He went on for about 8 to 10 minutes that we unfortunately couldn't show. The entirety of that clip, we'll have it up later on our YouTube, so make sure you check out the entirety of that interview. He got injured. He tore his quad muscle. He had to be out for a year. Obviously, with the concussions when he was in high school, he didn't know if he could ever play football again. Just a tremendous road, obviously from a military background. He had an upbringing to make him an incredible human being and an incredible individual. And like you mentioned, this team needs and needed him last season. And you could argue that James Baird perhaps was the most important player of that team last year. Obviously, you have your quarterbacks and your offense and your defense, but just knowing that you have a player that if you get, inside the 30, inside the 25-yard line, you got 3 points on the board almost 98% of the time, and then obviously the PATs after every touchdown, he was nearly perfect on those as well. So he was incredibly important to this team. He's going to be important for this team going forward. It was so much fun to just get to interact with him and have him kind of give us a little portion of his knowledge about kicking and try to help us. And as pitiful as we were, obviously that doesn't reflect on his coaching abilities or anything like that, but it just reflects on how good of a human being that he was. He was able to coach us through, and between every kick, he was trying to coach us and teach us what we were doing wrong, and it was so much fun to just be able to rub shoulders with him. Great individual, great interview, a lot of fun with James Baird.
Listen, I'm not too proud to admit that he clearly had more to work with you than with me, and he let me known when after my second attempt. You remember what he said? He said, "I'm not sure what you were doing on that one."
That was yeah.
But and I shanked it and it went off to the side. But he was, and you can see, we were just having some fun. It was just a challenge between you and I, and we wanted him to give us some pointers and show us a few things. But he was there wanting us to succeed as well in that challenge. And a big thanks to James, and we wish him the best of luck moving forward, and fingers crossed for this football season in the spring, because we want to see James make some more field goals. Should note, single season leader after the 2019 season at Dixie State now in PATs and in field goals in his first season at Dixie State. There have been a lot of teams through the D2 era that would have maybe won a lot of games, handful of games that they lost if they'd had a kicker that they could trust. And James stepped in, and he was just that right from the start last year. So big thanks to James for coming out and spending some time with us. And we got to take our final time out. When we come back, Drayson and I will give you our final thoughts on both of these segments and then kind of give you a little bit of a preview for what we're going to see in our next show 2 weeks from today. Final time out and back to wrap it up on Trailblazer Weekly.
Sunrock, Sunpro, Beehive Insurance, and Deseret Color are proud to be part of the Clyde companies in southern Utah. Sunrock and Sunpro provide construction products and services that support the constant growth of the community. Deseret Color is a master planned community offering amenities to St. George. Come visit a model home just off Exit 2. Beehive Insurance offers more than just a policy. You can trust our agents to create a custom insurance plan for your business. The Clyde family of companies is proud to support business and community growth and is a proud sponsor of Dixie State Athletics.
1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother, you, your football buddy, your football buddy, you, the boss's boss. If 1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes, that means it could be you, your barber, your barber's barber.
Nice work.
Thanks. You, your plumber,
Breathe right into your foot.
your plumber's masseuse.
Yes.
You, your dog walker,
On your left.
your cat jogger. Or you, your co-pilot, your co-pilot's co-pilot. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand.
Kevin, get our career. Oh, and there's the bottom.
Does this one have more water?
Can you tell me why? Careful.
Hey, Kevin, you thinking about retirement?
I'd love to, but I'm pretty busy with all this.
Yeah. Hey, let's meet our retirement coach, Avo. A is for taking action.
Not anxiety?
No, Kevin, you're gonna be fine.
You sing?
Barely. V is for variety.
And you dance?
Sort of. Come on. O is for optimize your savings.
Let Avo lead the way.
Visit aceyourretirement.org today.
Nice.
Thanks.
Where do you find the titans of classical music in St. George? Classical music on Radio St. George, 100.3 FM. Where do you find the legends of jazz? Evenings on Radio St. George, 100.3 FM.
I take the road less traveled, run free, unwind, unravel someplace outside with lots to do. Green trees, red rocks, and don't forget that blue sky. The sunshine shining, sunshine pouring on me. Think I might just stay a while. Say hooray all day because the sun is gonna shine on me. Sun is gonna shine on me. Sun's gonna shine on me.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps. Did Pete saying mean things bother ya?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
This graph is square.
Pretty close.
Artemisia is all the sagebrushes, but there's your needle and thread. Which one is this?
Come down. Perfect, right? Sodium carbonate.
Today's show is brought to you by Rock Canyon Bank, serving Utah businesses and agriculture for over 25 years, with locations in Pleasant Grove, Orem, Provo, Spanish Fork, Fillmore, and at 94 East Tabernacle, right here in St. George. Rock Canyon Bank, back to banking. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Welcome back inside Studio A, inside the Jennings Communication Building on the campus of Dixie State University. One final time, Trailblazer Weekly, as we wrap things up here on this Wednesday afternoon. Season 3, Episode 2, just about in the books, and what a journey, what a fun episode it has been. Carrick Segmuller, Drayson Ball with you on the mics, and like I said in the open, we knew going into this year that we were going to be faced with some challenges of our own in the show. How were we going to make these entertaining? How were we going to provide content that the fans would want to see? There's no games to talk about. What are we going to do? Are we going to do shows? And it was mid to late August that Drayson and I sat down with the great folks here at CEC TV, with Marcus and James and Lauren, and all their students are amazing, by the way. And this is a great shout out for them for all the work they do for us. But we sat down with them and we said, how are we going to pull this off? And we all kind of a think tank, and this idea was introduced of more feature content. Get out of the studio, get to know the student athletes, have some fun challenges, and these things that you saw today, we put those into practice and we executed those plans, and I am so glad that these ideas were hatched, because what a fun time it was, and I'm looking forward to what we have in the future too.
Yeah, no, this is kind of just a good preview of kind of what our plan is for the show going forward, at least until we start having games again. Then we might rethink our structure a little bit, and we might also kind of try to keep some of the things that we've been doing here over these episodes and continue them going forward in some capacity or another. And so this is kind of what the show is going to be. And like you said, I'm really excited because, you know, when we have guests here in the studio and we're talking about game recaps and how they performed or how their team performed, that's all great, and we love doing that. But there's also the side of it that we don't get to see a whole lot of them and their personality and their background and their history, just because we just don't have that much time with them, and we want to kind of focus on their accomplishments on the field or the court or wherever, that we don't get to see a lot of those stories. For example, with James Baird and his history with BYU and his injuries, and with Keaton and his his journey here at Dixie State, we don't get to see a lot of those things, you know, when we're here on the set. And so these interviews are going to be able to provide us with some of those, hopefully, those backgrounds of those students and kind of more of their history and a profile on them. And that's what I'm so excited about, that not only us get to kind of be around them and rub shoulders with them, but the fans and the viewers get to see kind of the caliber of individuals that Dixie State recruits and has represent their teams and their sports. And so it's fun for us. It's going to be fun for us doing these challenges, and we're going to do a few different things, obviously, kind of like that going forward with every sport that we do going forward and every team that we do going forward. And it's just going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to keep going.
Yeah, and I felt like there was no better way to start it than with these two, than with Keaton and with James. You know, you had the quarterback, charismatic, team leader, you know, good speaker, knows how to. And not that James was great too, but then you had James just getting real and opening up and sharing things that he said he doesn't share very often. His challenges on his way here to Dixie State, and you know, what an amazing journey it was. And like we said before, we were extremely grateful that journey brought him this way, because he was much needed last year on the squad and then on this year's team as well. And then whatever happens in the future, you know, extra year of eligibility possibly, you know, with the NCAA kind of giving a blanket waiver to those in the fall. So fun times with Keaton and James, and just a little teaser of what you're going to see in 2 weeks' time. We're going to be at Greater Zion Stadium once again, and it's a good thing we had some kick training, because we're going to try to make some penalty kicks. We're going to see if we can sneak some penalty kicks past the Dixie State goalkeepers, and then we're going to try our hands at being goalkeepers as well.
Yeah.
So
Going to be with the women's soccer program. Going to get a few student athletes there that we can highlight and profile and then have a little fun with as well. And these head-to-head competitions, Carrick, are going to be going on all season long, and we're going to keep a running tally. We'll make a graphic. We don't have it up today, but we'll make a graphic, and we'll have kind of a scoreboard as we go along through these challenges, and we're going to have a running tally throughout the end of the season.
Is that you calling scoreboard? You just say like, "Hey, Carrick, look at the scoreboard right now." 2-0.
I'm just saying that's what we're going to have. The fans are going to be able to keep track all year long as we do.
See how it is. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining us on the show today. However you access the show, we appreciate you tuning in. Remember, you can catch all of these shows live and on demand at the Dixie State Athletics YouTube page, as well as follow us on social media at DSU Blazer Weekly on Twitter, Trailblazer Weekly on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Carrick. He's Drayson. We'll catch you next time on Trailblazer Weekly.